お戻りになられました、落ち葉の方。
Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host with another marvelous video. This week, we've hit the halfway mark on FX's big historical show, Shogun. Things are moving slower than we thought after a big episode, with war on the horizon. As the Council of Regents has a new leader, Lord Toranaga is still gathering troops. Chapter 6, Ladies of the Willow World, is like the last episode, focusing on characters and giving us background to understand why things are the way they are now. In the previous episode, we saw tensions rise between Buntaro, John Blackthorne, and Mariko. Buntaro made sure to humiliate his wife at every interaction, while John tried his best to be her knight in a not-so-shining armor. Meanwhile, Nagakado got in trouble with his father for acting without thought and blowing off Jozen, which was a step towards declaring war with Ishido. Toranaga then promoted Omi to command the Anjin's cannon regiment just to mess with Yabushige. On the other hand, when John was about to leave Japan, an earthquake strengthened his bond with Toranaga as he saved the daimyo's life. Lastly, we were introduced to Lady Ochiba, the Taiko's only heir-bearing consort, who showed up as a key player, hinting that the regents would now have to answer to her. So, without wasting much time, let's see if today's episode moves the rivalry between Toranaga and Ishido forward. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Lady Mariko and Lady Ochiba were childhood best friends. Up until now, Shogun has primarily focused on powerful men making crucial decisions. However, Ladies of the Willow World shifts our attention to how the women in the show have coped with the consequences of these decisions. This change in perspective begins the episode with a flashback 22 years ago, revealing the bond shared by Mariko and Lady Ochiba. After young Mariko met the then-known Ruri, the daughter of the lord her samurai father Akechi Jinsai served, they grew up together walking through the halls of the castle and running past the bamboo groves. Their friendship deepened even amidst the turmoil between Ochiba's father and Lord Akechi Jinsai, whose actions caused quite the discord in their household. Kuroda-sama actually went on killing people ruthlessly, causing a sense of disarray amongst his generals. Luckily, Mariko and Ruri had the canopy of their friendship, which became their refuge during turbulent times, allowing them to comfort each other while their fathers argued in private. As they grew up, Mariko was training to be a warrior, but her life took a different turn when her father married her off to Toda Buntaro in order to form an alliance, even though the Toda clan was not particularly of great importance. With the young women now separated, their friendship was now shattered alongside Mariko's dreams to achieve more as a warrior.
He has decided to grant you a fief that will provide an annual salary of 600 koku.
John Blackthorne gets a promotion. In the present, a funeral ceremony has been organized to honor the lives of those lost in the devastating earthquake. Following the funeral, Toranaga addresses everyone, announcing that John has again risked his own life to save Toranaga's for the second time. As a gesture of gratitude, he goes on to grant John a fief near Kanagawa with an annual salary of 600 koku. But there's more. With Toranaga's support, a foreigner now leads the Japanese cannon regiment and serves as Kanto's chief admiral. John even received new swords as a gift, having given his previous ones to Toranaga as a thoughtful gift. His new promotion certainly ruffles more than one feather amongst Toranaga's allies, because Omi, Yabushige's nephew who recently took command of the regiment in the last episode, is struggling to cope with these developments. Omi, who hates John to the very core, is clearly frustrated and vents to Yabushige about this, but Yabushige quickly dismisses it, focusing on the looming war as a more pressing concern rather than caring what the barbarian gets. Yabushige even jokes about making a new will, which shows us how he's clearly doubting if they can come out unscathed from the upcoming challenges. Buntaro gets punished, but John gets an unusual gift. Soon, we're put right in front of the ripple effects of the disastrous dinner at Blackthorne's house from the previous episode. Buntaro has apparently realized how his behavior has impacted Toranaga's court and seeks to apologize to his lord, to a point that he begs for forgiveness with his life. Toranaga is not exactly pleased with how the hot-headed Buntaro treats his wife, and clearly wants to focus on planning a war, rather than indulge in Buntaro's relationship drama. So, he offers a straightforward solution to Buntaro's marriage issues and asks him to get a divorce. But Buntaro explains how it's not that simple after so many years of marriage. He expresses that Mariko has always been distant with him since the very beginning of their marriage, but it's different now as he notices a change in her cold demeanor around John. Toranaga does not provoke Buntaro any further and instead orders him to take a 7-day break from his marriage, leaving Mariko alone. This is no less than a punishment, given that Buntaro is now prohibited to see his own wife. As he accepts this, moments later we see Mariko Mariko and John walking in. John approaches Toranaga to discuss the gifts he's received for saving the Lord's life and expresses his inability to fulfill the duties assigned to him. He requests permission to leave Japan along with his crew in order to regain control of his ship for protecting himself and fighting against their mutual threats. John believes that he can be more useful to Toranaga by engaging in naval combat, particularly targeting the Portuguese and Christian regions, given that most of Ishido's allies were Catholics. While translating, we can clearly see that Mariko scoffs at John's suggestion, as she is a Catholic herself. But Toranaga does not agree to John's proposals and simply instructs him to leave without giving him a conclusive statement. I mean, it's an obvious reaction because Toranaga values his potential alliance with John's enemies, especially considering the wealth of the Portuguese. Anyways, Toranaga asks Lady Mariko to stay back and questions her relationship with John. Of course, she insists that there's nothing romantic between them and that she's merely fulfilling her duties. But Toranaga knows better and warns her against any disruptions in his camp. To further ease his concerns, he tasks Lady Mariko with arranging accommodation for John at the tea house, aka the brothel, for the night. He also asks her to accompany him as a translator to ensure John receives good hospitality, so it allows him to settle his mind in Japan. It appears that Toranaga is subtly pushing Mariko toward John because he's possibly aware of their relationship dynamics and using it to hold John back. But on another note, this can also serve as a form of punishment for disrupting his plans while also providing cover for their forbidden relationship, given that the entire Ajiro can see the growing chemistry between Mariko and John, so if he's seen leaving the brothel with a prominent courtesan, it could divert attention away from their affair. Lady Ochiba uses Lord Ishido to assert her dominance on the council. While Mariko is carrying out Toranaga's latest orders, Lady Ochiba is hatching her own scheme. With her newfound alliance with Ishido, Osaka Castle is on high alert due to a fabricated threat against the heir's life. The regents and their clans are now being held captive as Ishido pressures them to decide on Toranaga's replacement. Amidst this chaos, Hiromatsu attempts to escape with Lady Kiri and Shizu. However, Kiri chooses to stay with the heavily pregnant Shizu, urging Hiromatsu to inform Toranaga about the situation. The escalating violence also concerns Father Delacqua, who confides in Tsuji about the situation getting worse after Lady Ochiba's return to Osaka. Tsuji, seeing Lady Ochiba as anti-Christian, suggests that the church should ally with Toranaga, but His Eminence Father Delacqua hesitates due to Toranaga's Minowara clan's reputation for violence and hopes that once the turmoil among the regents subside, Toranaga will be supportive of their cause. This interaction is followed by a flashback where we see Lady Ochiba forced to flee after her father's assassination without having a clue as to what's transpiring. Back in the present at Osaka Castle, she resumes her role of caring for her son and attending royal events, including a no performance in the castle's courtyard. Here, Lady Ochiba and the regents watch a theatrical reenactment of Taiko's reign, where actors depict Taiko slaying Akechi Jinsai, who is Mariko's father, and then courting a masked version of Lady Ochiba. This triggers violent flashbacks for her, recalling the late Taiko's wife, Lady Io's words about how everything a woman loses can be reclaimed back through rising in power. However, Ochiba's return to power came at a cost, because we see how she was prepared to be a consort for the Taiko. Ochiba was drugged with bitter herbs and forced into bed with the Taiko to conceive a male heir. The brutality of her past crudely clashes with the romanticized portrayal on stage. While the play is being enacted, Lord Kiyama vents his frustration to Lord Sugiyama about Ochiba and Ishido's growing imposition, hoping that once the 5th regent is announced and Toranaga is eliminated, the hostages will be freed. On the other hand, the late Taiko's wife warns Ochiba about aligning with Ishido. After the performance, Ochiba and Ishido approach Lord Ito, the actor who portrayed the Taiko in the play. This is when the true purpose of the scene is revealed. Surprisingly, Ishido proposes that Ito become the 5th regent, aiming to sway his vote against Toranaga and potentially orchestrate his demise. While Ishido views this as a strategic move to smash Toranaga's growing power, Ochiba's motivations are deeply personal. Apparently, Ochiba believes that Akechi Jinsai was merely a pawn in Toranaga's elaborate schemes. It was actually Toranaga who kept plotting and scheming against Kuroda-sama's downfall. Seems like Ochiba had no clue what a tyrant her father really was, or that his downfall was inevitable, hence why she blames Toranaga for the atrocities she suffered after her father's assassination. But Ochiba refrains from revealing this to Ishido when he inquires on the reason behind her hatred for Toranaga. the Crimson Sky. Somehow, Hiromatsu manages to reach Toranaga's court in one piece. He informs Toranaga about the advancements in Osaka under Ishido and presents him with the plan of Crimson Sky to defeat Ishido and his allies. However, Toranaga dismisses the idea due to its high potential for a lot of unnecessary bloodshed. Now, the Crimson Sky is the plan for a swift and forceful assault on Osaka Castle to overthrow the council and establish a new government with Toranaga as the sole regent. His son, Nagakado, correctly identifies this move as a bid to restore the Minawara line to the Shogun title, which is the highest military leader in Japan. While Nagakado supports the plan, others foresee its inevitable failure. Toranaga, despite claiming he doesn't seek the Shogun title, leans towards Omi's suggestion of buying more time by allowing the other generals to be held hostage in Osaka. This strategy would probably sway the other regents against Ishido, potentially avoiding the need for war altogether if Sugiyama, Ono, Kiyama, and the Portuguese lose faith in Ishido's rule.
I ask you into my openness. I ask you.
Jon experiences the Willow World. As Toranaga strategizes for war, the romantic entanglements he arranged for Jon unfold at Jin's tea house, which is easily the focal point of this episode. Here, we witness how committed Mariko really is to her duty, even if it comes at the expense of her own happiness. Negotiating Blackthorn's night with Kiku in the presence of Jin, the madam of the renowned Willow World brothel in Izu, is likely not one of Mariko's proudest moments, even though it may not rank very high on the list of humiliations she's been put through. While Mariko makes a bold move in negotiating for Lady Kiku's services with Jin, the scene is subtly amusing, with Fuji adding comedic charm by casually sipping her tea while observing Mariko and Jin's verbal exchange. However, neither Mariko nor we are fully prepared for the developments that unfold once they're alone together. This news visibly upsets Omi, who's not cool with sharing Lady Kiku with the man he hates the most, given that he's completely in love with her. As Mariko and Jon walk into the brothel at night, Mariko acknowledges the rarity of a married woman visiting a tea house, but Toranaga has granted Jon an exception due to his need for a translator while pillowing. The evening starts off innocently, with Kiku serving tea gracefully while Mariko encourages Blackthorn to compliment her pouring technique. However, there's a looming tension here, as Mariko realizes she may have to witness the man she cares about being intimate with someone else. Yet Kiku, perceptive as ever, quickly senses the underlying tension between Jon and Mariko. Despite Kiku's duty for the night, which has already been paid for, she's not opposed to leveraging her skills to facilitate communication between them. Shogun skillfully uses language and translation to create a hypnotic atmosphere in order to deepen the intimacy of the moment. As Mariko communicates through Kiku's whispered descriptions while the courtesan remains unseen in the background, a silent exchange of longing glances occurs between her and Blackthorn, with his eyes tracing the contours of her kasode. Through Kiku's words, Mariko and Blackthorn find a channel to express their mutual desire, while Kiku manages to breach Mariko's figurative eightfold fence. The courtesan's speech resonates with Mariko in a profound way, revealing that the sanctuary provided by the Willow World extends beyond mere physical pleasure. When Kiku concludes her speech by inviting Jon inside, Mariko experiences a rapid flashback of her past traumas. It becomes evident that the defenses of her eightfold fence are no match for the allure of the Willow World. As Blackthorn is led away, there's a fleeting yet intense touch of longing between him and Mariko as he tries to hold her hands. This whole scene involving Jon, Mariko, and Kiku highlights Jon's longing for Mariko and vice versa, revealing their deep feelings despite the barriers of customs, traditions, and responsibilities that separate them. The cinematography, particularly the shots from Jon's point of view, vividly portrays his perspective on Mariko and the emotions he experiences when looking at her. Now, the question is whether Kiku is offering these words for Blackthorn's benefit or Mariko's. Perhaps it doesn't matter much in the end, as when Kiku moves to lead Blackthorn into an adjoining room, Mariko opts not to follow, recognizing it as a place she cannot venture into. The following morning, Kiku and Jin accompany Jon back to the village, attracting curious glances from bystanders. When Mariko picks up Jon, his demeanor appears noticeably weary and fatigued, quite different from the cheerful disposition he displayed after spending his forbidden night with Mariko. So it remains uncertain whether Blackthorn and Kiku really engaged in physical intimacy, or if he simply confided in the courtesan. However, it's clear that someone other than Mariko is deeply affected by the situation, as Omi and Nagakado were both jealous of Jon's favored treatment from Toranaga. While observing the scene from a distance, Omi comments on Blackthorn's seeming fortune, while Nagakado remarks on Toranaga's excessive favoritism toward the Anjin. Now, given Nagakado's recklessness and Omi's lingering animosity toward Blackthorn, it wouldn't be surprising if either or both of them take action against him in the near future. But what really adds to the amusement is Mariko's deliberate dilution of the conversation's translation between Kiku and Jon, clearly reflecting her displeasure over the night they spent together. Mariko seems to have found her purpose. Later that evening, Mariko is summoned by Toranaga, who asks about her past friendship with Lady Ochiba. He questions what could have led Ochiba to adopt such adversarial tactics against him, hinting at the dishonor he perceives in her actions. In response, Mariko offers a poignant insight, stating that while men often have specific reasons for going to war, women are constantly embroiled in conflict by the virtue of their existence because societal norms constantly position them in a state of warfare. This simple yet profound statement resonates deeply, highlighting the internal struggles faced by women amidst the ambitious battles waged by the men in Shogun. The conversation then shifts to Mariko's aspirations of becoming a warrior and how her marriage curtailed that dream. Toranaga then reveals to Mariko the ambitious plans her father had envisioned for her, adding to her distress when she reflects on Buntaro's rejection of her yearly suicide mission. Feeling crushed, Mariko laments having failed her father, but Toranaga reassures her by affirming that her journey is far from over, as there are still many battles to be fought which would present her the opportunity to achieve her desired identity. Episode 6 of Shogun ends with the death of a regent. At the conclusion of Shogun's 6th episode, the regents are forced by Ishido to sit down and appoint Ito as Toranaga's replacement. However, Lord Sugiyama opposes the decision, questioning the legitimacy of the threat against the heir of Taiko and criticizing Ishido for resorting to hostage tactics to sway the votes of the regents. As he walks out of the council, an undeterred Ishido assures Lady Ochiba that Sugiyama will be removed from his position to ensure that their plan to eliminate Toranaga proceeds without hindrance. When he asks her to be patient, Lady Ochiba rebukes Ishido and asserts that they can't delay confronting Toranaga any longer. With a stern tone, she tells Ishido about how clueless he is about the kind of person Toranaga really is. This is when Lady Ochiba finally reveals to Ishido that it was Toranaga who orchestrated her father's demise, forcing her into a concubine's role by the Taiko, and ultimately how she accomplished what no other woman could by bearing the Taiko a male heir. In a chilling declaration, Ochiba reveals her defiance against fate by wielding her own power instead of allowing fate to control her life. This incites Ishido to take a drastic action by ordering the execution of Sugiyama and his entire clan, seeing him as an obstacle in his path to confront Toranaga directly. So, when Sugiyama was trying to flee Osaka with his family, Ishido wrongly killed everyone under the pretense of a bandit attack. In response, Toranaga had no other option but to declare the Crimson Sky strategy as the final way out, paving the way for a new government with Toranaga assuming the role of shogun after taking down Ishido's forces. This strategic move needed Toranaga to contact his half-brother, Saiki Nobutatsu, and unleash a significant amount of bloodshed on Osaka. I think all of us know that the outcome of this intense conflict will either determine whether Toranaga's legacy is tarnished or elevated to new heights. By now, it's safe to say that tension is peaking in Shogun, and the only way out of this is through war. The key players have all been established in this board game, so now it remains to be seen how they strategize to take down one another. How do you think the next episode will play out for our main characters? Let us know in the comment box below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.